What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another preview show with myself and Nick as we get you set for Ole Miss and Tulsa this weekend. The Rebels and the Golden Hurricane going to be going down in Oxford as Ole Miss looks to go to 4-0 and keep their perfect season alive before the SEC schedule starts in force the very next week with Kentucky. Thrilled again to be joined by my good buddy Nick Filipich from the Rebel Walk, who is been so kind as to jump on and help me out with these preview shows this year and this season. Hopefully you'll see a lot of us as we go on. Got some cool stuff happening tonight. We're going to talk about the football game, of course. We're going to go over a little bit of the football schedule. Basketball TV schedule came out today, but we're also going to do a giveaway at the end of the show. And I'm excited about that because someone is going to win not one, but two free tickets to go see Ole Miss and Tulsa this weekend down in Oxford. So stay tuned for that. I've got all the names. I have a random drawer app that I downloaded today, so it's not rigged in any way. Don't worry about that because, I don't know any of you, so I wouldn't want to rig it anyway. So we're going to do all that, and we're going to see who gets those tickets. So, Nick, as always, a pleasure. Thanks for hopping aboard again, digging the UM hat that you got going on tonight.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
I thought about wearing a hat myself tonight, but I'm getting a haircut tomorrow, and I didn't want to, mess it all up for that because, boy, do I need a haircut. You guys, if you can't tell, it's been a while since I've had a haircut, but I got my haircut right before surgery, and then I got back from surgery. I haven't been able to get it cut yet, but thankfully my hairstylist I happen to know and go to church with, and she's going to come by tomorrow to the house and do it since I can't get out and get it done. So thankfully going to get that done because I'm starting to look like Justin Bieber again. I don't like the Bieber haircut. That's like from my high school days. So Nick, real quick before we get into Ole Miss and Tulsa, then what we're going to do yesterday, of course, the SEC schedule was released for next season, and Ole Miss never has a easy schedule. They play in the SEC West. There's no such thing as an easy SEC West schedule, but it's just a little bit more brutal, I feel like, than normal. Next year, they not only do they have Alabama as always, you've got your LSUs, you've got your Arkansas, but their East opponent next year, other than Vanderbilt, is Georgia. And Georgia, 2016 is a long time ago now. Right. It's not the same team. There's going to be a lot of hype about it. Even the SEC Network guys last night were talking about, Georgia's had that one circled. No, they haven't. It's been 7 years, and Georgia won a national championship last year. They're not thinking about Ole Miss. I promise you, revenge on Ole Miss is not on their mind because Ole Miss is not on the same level as Georgia right now. It's not even close. Right. And that's not a shot at Ole Miss, obviously, but it's just not. They're not. Georgia is here, and everyone else is here right now. Alabama's not even on their level right now the past couple of years. So, Nick, I'm curious your thoughts. I've got a few nuggets on the schedule. I'm curious if you had anything that really caught your eye on the 2023 schedule. Obviously, it's a brutal one. So, curious your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. What stood out to me was Georgia. I think it was week 11, so that's going to be before Mississippi State, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So you kind of got that towards the end, and then if I'm not mistaken, it's Alabama week 4. So I think we play them later this year, but normally we have always played them early. So it's never easy in the SEC, but you would kind of like it to be a little bit later to where you can kind of work your way up into the competition. But the first SEC game is going to be Alabama, so the SEC doesn't wait on anybody.
Yeah, I hated to see Alabama right back at the top of the schedule again next season. We finally called a break this year. We didn't have to play Alabama right away and lose half our starting lineup after they injured everybody like they always do. So called a break this year, not so next year. Obviously, Ole Miss's first 3 opponents are Mercer. That's an FCS opponent. They've played at SEC schools fairly regularly. They got clobbered by Auburn this year, 42-16. Obviously, doesn't matter what happens this year. So Mercer will be coming in. Then they go to Tulane, who they played last season and won. Matt Corral and company beat them by 40, 61-21 here in Oxford. And then they'll have Georgia Tech here in Oxford. So the Ramblin' Wreck will get a chance at a rematch. Will Jeff Collins be the coach? Probably not, but that's just speculation. There seems to be a lot of hate for Jeff Collins going around the Georgia Tech crowd. I don't know a whole lot about Jeff Collins other than when he was at Mississippi State as a coordinator. Other than that, I really don't know a whole lot about him. I'm really not sure what his backstory is, but Georgia Tech fans are not a fan of Jeff right now. But they'll get another shot at Ole Miss next year, and that is it for non-conference until Louisiana Monroe happens later in the year. So, again, contrary to this season where Ole Miss, all 4 of their non-con opponents happened at the beginning of the year, and then it's a straight shot through SEC play. Next year, we'll revert back to that late November game of one cupcake game, so to speak, although Louisiana Monroe is no cupcake. They've had their fair share of upsets. Getting ahead of ourselves, we'll get to that. Alabama at the top, followed by Arkansas, or LSU rather, and then Arkansas. That is a horrible way to start SEC play.
Right.
Alabama, Arkansas, LSU, the first 3.
Right.
Unreal.
It's tough.
Before an open date. We don't know what LSU is going to look like the rest of this year, and we don't know what LSU is going to look like next year so far. Brian Kelly's in his first year this year. They've struggled a little bit. They bounced back. They did beat Mississippi State at home last week. Mississippi State, again, this hyped up offense of theirs that showed once again why they're really not that great. Again, got beat at LSU. So I'm not putting a whole lot into that because I really don't know a lot about Mississippi State defensively so far this year. It's still too early in the year to tell. Mississippi State's defense was the most heralded part of their team coming into the season. So it's kind of hard to tell. It's still early. People are figuring it out. But you have Alabama and Arkansas. We know about those 2. Those are going to be physical. 100%. Alabama is always physical. It's almost guaranteed you lose a starter or 2 playing them. Then you turn around and have to play Arkansas, who under Sam Pittman has gotten a lot more physical. He is an offensive line guy, and he has taken that and turned it into a winning program because of how good and physical his lines are. So that's going to be a physical game next year. And then you have LSU. The Magnolia rivalry is going to be physical regardless of what the teams look like.
Right.
So thankfully, after those 3 games, Ole Miss will have an open date after those initial 3 games, and it's going to be needed.
Absolutely.
But those first 3 games, if you make it through, you get an open date, and then guess what? You have to go down to Auburn. And Auburn is notorious for Ole Miss fans and really a lot of fans in general, where all the calls go their way. It almost never fails. The calls on the plains go their way. But then Ole Miss has a tremendous history of finding ways to lose to Auburn, particularly at Auburn. Last year, a prime example of a game Ole Miss should have won, could have won, and lost. Inexplicably lost with TJ Finley as the starting quarterback for Auburn. No, Bo Nix was the quarterback.
Bo Nix, Bo Nix.
I don't know why I thought TJ Finley was. Bo Nix was the quarterback and then got hurt, and Finley finished the year. That's what was in my head. I apologize. So forgive my mistake there. Either way, Bo Nix, it doesn't matter. Bo Nix should not have beat Ole Miss, but Ole Miss made Bo Nix look like a Hall of Fame quarterback last year. Of course, Ole Miss fans always will remember the Laquan Treadwell incident, particularly what happened after the game with that ridiculous headline. Auburn's won 6 straight against Ole Miss this year pending, obviously. Ole Miss trying to change that, and Auburn does not look good right now. They got thrashed by Penn State this last
they
weekend.
got beat pretty good,
That's a game I'm really keeping my eye on because if Ole Miss makes it through that Alabama, Arkansas, LSU 2-1 somehow, because I'm still never ready to say Ole Miss is going to beat Alabama right now. It's just really hard to do. Arkansas and LSU are always beatable. You know they're always beatable. You can lose those games just as easily. So you could go 0-3. You could go 3-0. You could go 2-1, 1-2. I mean, it could go a variety of different ways. You make it through that week somehow with a winning record. Auburn is always that slip-up game for Ole Miss. So that one in particular, I'm really keeping my eye on for next year.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, you popped that 6 in a row for Auburn. I didn't know that, but you're right. You know, we always kind of find a way to and it just so happens to be Auburn, that team that kind of just has our number. So, yeah, that'll be an interesting one. And then you mentioned ULM. That'll be nice to have them towards the end, you know, where it's not an off week, but, you know, you can kind of have a week to kind of catch your breath a little bit before you have to play Georgia and Mississippi State there at the end.
Yeah, so and of course after Auburn, you could say it's somewhat of a bye week. Ole Miss fans would like to think because you get Vanderbilt after Auburn.
Right.
Vanderbilt always tends to play up to Ole Miss, though, so you can never really look over them. You have Vanderbilt and Oxford, then you host Texas A&M in Week 10. Then, unfortunately, you have to go down to Sanford Stadium and play Georgia. And, guys, unless something drastic happens, I don't care if Ole Miss is undefeated coming into that game. I'm going to be hard-pressed to pick Ole Miss to win that game. If you look at it right now, that's a long ways away. But if you look at what Georgia has right now, they are just ridiculous. And Kirby Smart is, he's going to reload down there. They're going to be phenomenal next year. Yes, they won't have Stetson Bennett back, but they'll be really good. I'll be curious to see what Georgia looks like through the first 10 weeks of the season next year and what Ole Miss looks like through the first 10 weeks of the season next year. I'm not making any predictions right now. This is just a kind of a quick look at the schedule. Then you have Louisiana Monroe prior to the Egg Bowl. Thank goodness for Louisiana Monroe being between Georgia and Mississippi State. Because God forbid you have somebody crucial have an injury of some kind against Georgia, and then you have to go turn around and play the Egg Bowl on the next Thursday. You don't even have a full week turnaround kind of thing. So thankfully, Louisiana Monroe, you get them, and then you have the quick turnaround for the Egg Bowl. The Egg Bowl is an interesting one because Ole Miss will be looking to become, if they win this year. So Ole Miss looking to win 3 in a row this season. The last time either Ole Miss or Mississippi State won 4 Egg Bowls in a row was Ole Miss from 1983 to 1986. They won 4 straight Egg Bowls. Since then, it's been pretty much a back-and-forth affair. A couple of times you get 2 or 3 every now and then. And obviously, if you ask Mississippi State fans, well, those Hugh Freeze ones, they got vacated. They won the game. Don't give me that nonsense. Ole Miss won that game. I'm not that stuff's nonsense. Okay. So Ole Miss won those games. I hate this vacated crap for anybody, not just Ole Miss. Vacated, it's bull crap. Anyway, that's good. Ole Miss. Mississippi State is going to be hopping mad if they lose 3 in a row. They'll probably be calling for Mike Leach's head if they lose this year, and then they'll definitely be trying to prevent that 4 in a row. So I am curious to see how it goes next year. But interesting schedule, brutal schedule next year. Ole Miss is certainly going to be tested, and they're going to be tested very early. Now, of course, you have a real quick note before we jump off of football real fast. Baseball, Mike Bianco, he doesn't recruit, he reloads, and that is exactly a rebuild. He reloads. Number 2 recruiting class in the country according to Baseball America. That came out yesterday, so boom, boom, boom. Ole Miss is ready to just jump right back in there and make another run for Omaha next year, and hopefully they'll get back there. But only 8 teams make it. It's going to be another tough year in the SEC, and Ole Miss doesn't have to play Tennessee next year in baseball, at least during the regular season. So there's that. But they will have a tough schedule nonetheless. Obviously, you got Arkansas, you got LSU, you got Mississippi State. I mean, Texas A&M is right back up after a couple of years down there. I mean, so no rest for the wicked in the SEC. And then finally, last note, basketball TV schedule was released today for Ole Miss, and I'm a little surprised with how much Ole Miss is going to be on TV next year.
Me too.
Just because of how poorly they've performed the last couple of years. I'm certainly hoping that the recruiting class that Kermit has, the transfers he's got coming in, I'm hoping this is his year that he finally shows what this team can do, because a lot of Ole Miss fans have been pretty frustrated with how basketball has been the last couple of years, and it's frustrating to watch. But Ole Miss is going to be on television at least 21 times next season, and there's not that many more games than 21. But part of that, of course, is counting the ESPN Events Invitational that happens in November that they're going to be at, and that's, of course, a tournament-style format. They may or may not play every one of those days. But the marquee games, Mississippi State at Mississippi State on January 7th. That's the CBS game. Auburn at home on January 10th will be on either ESPN2 or ESPNU. Arkansas at Arkansas on January 21st will be ESPN2. At home against Kentucky on January 31st on either ESPN or ESPN2. And then Texas A&M to round out the regular season home finale February 28th on either of or any of the 3, ESPN, ESPN2, or ESPNU. So a lot of televised games this year, none of them easy for Ole Miss, that's for sure. Brutal schedule there on TV for Ole Miss basketball. They better find it in a hurry.
Yep, they do. And I think a lot of people are rooting for Kermit and the basketball team. They've been struggled the last few years, and It'd be nice to have, a winning football season, a winning basketball season, and a winning baseball season. The big three, have all three of those going in the right direction. So we'll see. I don't follow basketball probably as much as any other Ole Miss fan, but we'll see.
Well, I don't think you're. I mean, honestly, Ole Miss basketball of the big three has been
Right.
the least popular one, and I mean,
Absolutely.
it's not. I'm not here to take shots at Kermit Davis by any means. So do not.
Right.
Nobody needs to misconstrue what I'm saying. But when you look at the other two programs, what they've been the last few
Right.
years,
Mm-hmm.
where Lane Kiffin has football, and what obviously what just happened with baseball,
right?
Then you're going to have basketball is just going to go to the back burner because they're not winning, and
right.
when you're not winning, then you're not going to get the viewership. And that's just part of it. I mean, it's unfortunate for Kermit because I know he wants what's best for this team, but you've got to win, and that's just
Bottom line,
unless you're Duke, or North Carolina, and you're some kind of blue blood basketball program,
right?
Then you're not going to constantly get the fans. You've got to win. So, but real quick, Nick, before we jump into Tulsa, I do want to remind people about our wonderful sponsors. You see them down at the bottom of your screen. And we're going to start with HottieToddyTents.com. These guys are phenomenal. They're going to help you get ready for the game. They're going to do all your setup for you. You're going to make your selections on the website. You're going to check out on the website, and then they're going to email you confirmation. Night before the game, they're going to email you probably between 8 and 10 p.m. before the night before, or on the night before, rather. They're going to email you the instructions and a map that's going to display the approximate location of your tent, and each tent has a name sign for you to find your exact spot so you can't possibly get your tent mixed up with somebody else's. On the day of the game, they're going to set your tent up by the end of the evening on Friday. You can come anytime you want Saturday. So if you're an early riser, if you're a little bit later getting to your tailgate spot, it will be there for you on Friday night. They'll have a phone number for you that you can call if you need anything, if you can't find it, anything like that. And after the game, your tent's going to be available until after the game. And then all they're going to ask of you is that you fold their chair up that they provide for you to signal that you are finished enjoying your tent. You can't beat that setup. These guys are going to pretty much do everything for you. All you got to do is check out and then fold your chair up after you're done.
Right.
That's all you got to do. They take care of everything else for you. Check them out, HottieToddyTents.com. Super excited to have them on board this season. We are stoked about having that extra sponsor for football season. And you guys all know and love our friends at Dead Soxy. These guys are the best. DeadSoxy.com, 25% off site-wide if you use the code RebelWalk. These guys have some of those comfortable and most stylish socks that you will ever see. And I'm about to throw one up on your screen right now so that you can see it because you guys are going to want these. This is the All Aboard the Lane Train sock. You can get that at deadsoxy.com. You can find a whole lot more selection. I don't know why this deadgum dash is there, but just don't pay attention to that. You guys know it's one picture. Just go check them out, deadsoxy.com. These guys are phenomenal. They are comfortable, they're stylish, they're affordable, and you guys are going to want these socks to show off when Ole Miss is winning, and you're going to want to show off against Tulsa on Saturday when Ole Miss puts a hurricane on the Golden Hurricane. So be sure and get your All Aboard the Lane Train socks or whichever socks your heart desires at deadsoxy.com and use the code RebelWalk for 25% off site-wide. All right, Nick, speaking of Tulsa, the number one passing offense in the country comes to town this weekend. Caveat, they haven't played anybody. But that aside, they've got a good team. Your thoughts on Tulsa? I've watched a little bit of some of their highlights, particularly the Wyoming game, because that was one of their more explosive games on both sides of the ball, and it kind of gave me an idea of what their defense looked like as well. Tulsa's not to be trifled with. I'm very much interested in your thoughts on Tulsa and what you've seen respective of the competition for Tulsa.
Yeah, I think everyone talks about the passing offense, but that's all I've really heard about was their passing offense. And if you go look at the stats, that's compared to Ole Miss, their yards per game are about the same, but how they go about getting those yards are way different. You got Ole Miss that's very balanced, mid 200s average passing and rushing per game, and then you got Tulsa that's over 400 passing yards a game. And I want to say hovering around 100 rushing yards. So they're both scoring, I think it's 43 points a game. But the Tulsa defense is kind of what caught my attention for, the negative. They're just not very good stats wise. I haven't watched much of their film or any of their games. You talked about the Wyoming game, kind of saw some highlights of that game. But if you go to overtime with Wyoming, all due respect to both Tulsa and Wyoming, you're probably not all that good of a defense, especially with the passing offense that they have. So that's kind of my thing. Their defense, I think we're going to be able to score almost kind of like we did on Georgia Tech, score at will almost. But I think they're going to give us a few more fits on defense. They're going to try to stretch you out vertically and kind of, hit you with those deep passes. And everyone's got to be in the right spot. They talked about it in the interviews, just got to be at the right spot, know the routes. And if you're in the right spot, they might hit some of those, but you don't want them to get those yards after the catch. And, they catch a 20-yard pass and run it 40 yards and, someone burns you and you don't want them all, kind of looking at each other, throwing their hands in the air, say, what happened? So got to be in the right spot. And I think if we can do that, I think we'll be able to get out of there with a pretty easy win.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about Tulsa. You mentioned their defense is not very good.
Right.
The biggest thing I noticed though, and we keep, and the passing is the big thing that we all look at, and that's what we're going to be curious on what Ole Miss brings to the table. Their rush defense has given up 516 yards already. This is a team that I feel like Lane's game plan may again revolve around the running game a little more. So I'm curious what we're going to see in the Ole Miss passing game. Speak on defense. Lane did not have anything to say today about the quarterback situation, and this was actually I was shocked on the teleconference today. Nobody asked him about it, and I thought about asking him about it, but I was like, the dude's heard the question a million times. I'm not going to ask him.
Same answer,
something totally different. He didn't say anything about the quarterback situation. However, again, pure speculation on my part. I do think that at some point, I think we're going to see Jackson Dart probably get the start this weekend. I think at this point, you have to know who's going to get most of your reps because Kentucky is looming next week, and that's a huge game. And I think Jackson's just got the most reps already, and he's the guy that's kind of been leading the offense. You kind of got to put the ball in his hands at this point. That's my feelings on it. That is not what Lane had to say. So I don't know. I could be surprised. He may say the usual, which is both will play. We might see both play. Luke might get the start for all I know. I just don't see that happening. I feel like it's going to be Jackson just because you've got Kentucky looming at this point. You got to do what's best for your team. And in my humble opinion, what's best for your team at this point is know who your starter is and get them the reps before the SEC schedule starts. I am not a football coach, and Lane Kiffin knows a heck of a lot more about football than I do, so I'm going to leave it in his capable hands. This is just my opinion that I think it should be Jackson. But to your point about Tulsa, Davis Brent is their quarterback. He has 119 or 76 completions on 119 attempts. He's thrown 11 touchdowns, just one interception. He has thrown for 1,206 yards so far through 3 games. But again, keep in mind, their opponents were Wyoming, Northern Illinois, and I don't even know who the third one was. It was a smaller school.
Jacksonville State.
Jacksonville State, yeah. So an FCS opponent. So, again, the competition has not been there. Whereas if you and they do score 43 points a game. Ole Miss also scores 43 points a game. Tulsa has given up just over 30 points a game. Ole Miss has given up 3 points a game so far. And they've given up 3 points to Georgia Tech. No, not Georgia Tech. I apologize. Central Arkansas. And they gave up 10 points to Troy, 0 points to Georgia Tech. So Ole Miss's competition hasn't been super good either. But Georgia Tech is a better football team certainly than Jacksonville State. And likely a better team than Northern Illinois, just overall, despite the fact that Georgia Tech isn't very good. Wyoming's a pretty decent football team. So that's
they got a
pretty good competition for them there. And Wyoming won that game. So, Wyoming won that game. But if you look at here is where I think the big aspect of this game comes in, and that is the rushing attack. If you look at Tulsa, their number one gainer is Steven Anderson, who has 35 carries for 134 yards and just 4 touchdowns. If you look at Ole Miss, Zach Evans has 321 yards. Q Judkins has 296 yards. Jackson Dart has 107 yards. Then you got Bentley with 76, 3 touchdowns for Evans, 3 touchdowns for Judkins, 4 for Bentley. You throw Bobo Miller, and Jonathan Mingo has a rushing touchdown as well in there. Right. The rushing game far and away favors Ole Miss. And with the amount of rushing yards that Tulsa gives up, as much as I want to see Ole Miss sling it because their receiving core is really good, this is going to be, I feel like, again, a potential run-heavy game.
Absolutely, yeah. And like you said, I like to see them sling it around a little bit, but I don't think they're going to until they have to.
Right. Well, when you start slinging it, you risk more mistakes.
Right. So, and I think, they're real comfortable. I think I talked about it last week. I think by this point in the quarterback battle, if the running back room isn't as talented as it is and that running game isn't where it is right now, you're rushing a decision on a quarterback and you're kind of, and so to that point, I think that, like you said, it's going to be a run heavy game. And on our side, and then on their side, they're going to sling it around. But I think, if we can run it, keep the ball for a while and keep the ball out of their hands and keeping them from doing what they do, I think, it'll be a rather easy. I don't want to say easy because, you never know what you have going in. But from what I can tell, it should be a pretty easy game.
Yeah, and again, I don't ever want to say anything's easy, particularly what you're in FBS level. You're at American Athletic Conference, which again is not a power conference, but
they're close. Yeah, they're right there. Yeah.
They take teams down to the wire. They're not they're not just a pushover. Particularly with Davis Brin at quarterback. So Ole Miss's defense is going to be tested for the first time through the air. We know what Tulsa's game plan is going to be.
Oh yeah.
Tulsa's game plan is going to be throw the ball. And they're going to try to maybe run it a couple times to set up play action. Ole Miss, so Tulsa hasn't played anyone that can stop the pass yet. So and then conversely, Ole Miss hasn't really played anyone that can pass yet.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask Lane Kiffin today, did say Troy. If you look at Troy, their passing stats are pretty good. Yes, but look at the competition Troy has played as well, and Troy normally plays.
Yeah.
So I get what Lane was saying there, and I completely understand. He's saying yes, he's not downplaying Troy, but this will be the toughest opponent passing wise Ole Miss has played so far this year by a long shot. So we are the secondary for Ole Miss is really going to have to bring it and be prepared. And obviously, the guys that we're going to have to watch are going to be Keelan Stokes and Juan Carlos Santana. Stokes with 326 receiving yards. 457 receiving yards. Santana with 326. Santana with 4 touchdowns. Stokes with 3 receiving touchdowns. Malachi Jones also has a touchdown and 232 yards receiving as well. But Stokes and Santana are the guys. Those are the go-to guys for Tulsa. Those are the guys that have caught most of the passes. Santana in particular has spent a lot of time in the end zone for Tulsa this year. He's kind of a go-to guy, particularly inside the red zone. So that's somebody for Ole Miss. You're really going to have to key in on those guys because if you don't, Tulsa does have the capability to burn you, and they will burn you. And Davis Brin's not afraid to sling it, and he's going to do it a lot.
Right. Yeah. And I think you mentioned it earlier, the 11 touchdowns to 1 interception, so he's making good decisions with the ball. They've got some guys with some speed on the outside. I think number 5, Santana is their fastest guy. And if you let him, he'll burn you. He'll run right by you and, do a little Tyreek Hill peace sign into the end zone and he's gone, So, if you let them, they'll beat you if you let them. But that's just can't let them do that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Any opponent, these opponents in particular, are going to come in and pull out all the stops. They've got nothing to lose. They are coming into your house. You are an SEC opponent. They are getting paid to come to you.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
just like Appalachian State did to Texas A&M, they will happily take that check and beat you with it.
Yeah.
So they're not afraid. Tulsa's not going to be afraid. They're not going to come in all timid. They're going to try to throw the ball. They're going to try to do what Davis Brin does. They're going to try to set him up to beat Ole Miss. And Ole Miss cannot take him lightly. Now, the one thing that I think is going to really help Ole Miss, and I don't know if you caught this in particular, is Tulsa's offensive line is not very good. Tulsa,
just not from being able to watch much. I haven't been able to see that, but you can kind of tell maybe from their rushing stats, just maybe that they kind of have that quicker passing offense and maybe just chunk it up. But yeah, I didn't catch that. So,
well, their offensive line isn't very good, and Bryn does tend to get it out quicker, partially because he has to.
Right.
Now he's accurate when doing so, so you still have to. Ole Miss can bring a pass rush, and their pass rush should be successful. However, you have to keep in mind that Bryn has the capability to get the ball out quick.
Right.
Again, caveat to that, Ole Miss's defense is faster and stronger than anybody Tulsa's played so far.
Yeah.
So they're going to be able to get to the quarterback a lot quicker. Right. Cedric Johnson, I mean, just the dude is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Getting off the snap, getting around defender or offensive linemen, and getting to the quarterback. So in particular, that's just one name. But then you look at what Corey Coleman has been doing, and you've got all these got transfers are in particular. And then when you've got Davison out there on the corner, who has done a phenomenal job of playing that position in particular as a true freshman, he's somebody I'm going to look to make some big plays defensively for Ole Miss in the game. AJ Finley obviously does a phenomenal job on defense and in pass defense. Obviously, we saw him with the huge pick 6 against A&M last year. So he knows how to play the pass. These guys know their defense is finally coming into its own. And despite the loss of DJ Durkin, they're almost – I think they're better so far this year than they were last year. And now, again, that's not a shot at DJ Durkin. That's Chris Partridge was here last year too. And so Chris Partridge is just growing this defense. And you add in these amazing transfers that Ole Miss has had come in, and they're just on another level right now.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to how they do against Tulsa and the passing attack. And then, of course, the big one when Kentucky comes in next week to start SEC play.
Yeah, you mentioned I wanted to touch on with Durkin leaving and you have Partridge. I think what really catches my eye the most and ears is, just kind of the mentality that the defense has. I feel like they want to be violent. They want to be aggressive. And, you've seen that, with the pass rush and, and you're talking about the defensive backs. These are games that not that they don't get up for every game, but, when they say, number one passing offense, they're like, okay, let's go. Get a few turnovers, get the offense the ball back, and let's show them, who we are. They have the number one passing offense. That's cool. But, we're SEC and we're coming. So,
and the talent is there. I mean, the talent for Ole Miss is there, and it's better. It's just better. And again, not a shot at Tulsa, not a shot. Yeah. But Tulsa doesn't have the players that Ole Miss, the caliber of players that Ole Miss has. They just don't. They just flat out don't. A loss to Tulsa, especially at home, is a bad loss. Just like last week, even though you were on the road, if you go lose to Georgia Tech, that's a horrible loss. You just can't afford to lose to Georgia Tech on the road. You just can't do it. So I think Ole Miss is going to be ready. Lane said multiple times today, I hope our crowd shows up. I hope our crowd shows up. Lane Kiffin should not have to be begging every week for the crowd to show up.
No, you don't want to see that. Yeah, it's and I think they when the players, I think for me, obviously I played some, but whenever you see your student, you leave the field going into halftime, the student section is packed and you come back and it's almost empty. It's kind of got to be not upsetting, but almost kind of like a little letdown, like, oh, they don't. And granted, we might see more, once the bigger games come, but why does it matter who we play? When's the last time we lost a home game? We went undefeated last year at home, I want to say. So it was 2020, the last time we won a game at the Vault. So I don't know. I mean, it kind of baffles me a little bit. Me, when I was a student, I was staying for the whole game. And, or at least I tried. I can't say that I stayed for every game, but that was the goal, and I think to have your coach begging an SEC school fans to come to the game, it should motivate fans to, show up and show out, as they say.
Yeah, it should. And I get it gets hot sometimes in these games, particularly the early kickoffs. The student section is baking in the sun. I get that. I understand some people don't want to stay out there and just absolutely get burnt to a crisp to watch Central Arkansas. I get that part of it.
Right.
But I also understand Lane's point of view. And if you want to be considered an elite program, you have to have elite crowds. And if you watch any other SEC football game besides Vanderbilt, maybe even Kentucky now,
they're packed out.
And other than in South Carolina, they were getting blown out. So that's kind of a fluky one there. But these crowds are loud, and they are loud the whole game, and they are loud on every down. I hate Arkansas with a passion. I can't stand Arkansas. But their football fans are phenomenal. They are loud, they are obnoxious, and they are in it the entire game and on every single down. Auburn, in it every single down. Alabama, they're in it every single down. Georgia, that place is impossible to win right now. Even Kentucky is raucous on every single down. Florida, the Swamp. I mean, the list goes on and on.
On and on,
Texas A&M, as weird as they are, those people are in it every single down. They've got a cult out there, but they're in it every single down. So
South
these
Carolina,
guys are in it. LSU, you can't go in the Death Valley at night and hear a word you can't hear yourself think in LSU. So that's how Ole Miss should be. They are winning. This is a winning football team now, a consistently winning football team now. A Sugar Bowl team last year, potentially the opportunity for another New Year's Six Bowl this year with how good they could be with Lane. I really hope he doesn't have to keep begging. I really hope the crowd starts to show up, and not just show up, but be loud and obnoxious every single down. That's the worst part about being in the media when you're at a game, is that you can't be cheering and be obnoxious, because that's frowned upon. When the press box, they don't care for that too much.
Hey, it's a working press box, Austin.
Do what?
It's a working press box.
Yes, a working press box, indeed. Nonetheless, Lane's big on that. I love how he wants the fans there, and you show up and show out, man. That's a big part. That's a big part of these games.
Absolutely.
Speaking of fans, I've had a couple more try to enter the giveaway last minute. I'm just throwing their names in my random thing right quick. I have one more to go here, it looks like, and then we will have about almost 20 names trying to get in this sucker. So everybody is good. So how this is going to work after I finish typing these last couple in is I have your Twitter. If you entered, if you follow the rules, which was either RT or QT, so retweet or quote tweet my initial tweet about the contest, then I have put your Twitter handle into my random drawing app, and I'm putting up these last two in.
Make sure you take mine out.
Nick, I never, no offense, buddy, I never put yours in. You are not eligible. I am not eligible. So nobody at the Rebel Walk is eligible. So don't nobody freak out. No employees of the Rebel Walk are getting the same discount. No media or anybody like that had the access to win these tickets. So don't worry there. This is strictly fans who RT, and I tried to kind of vet it a little bit. But I think everybody was good. If you are an active student, then if you're getting student tickets, it's a little bit of a funky situation. But I don't know how that works, Nick. You probably are a little bit more familiar with that. You graduated a lot recently, so you can, if you're a student and you win these tickets, hey, more power to you. Sell them to a friend. I don't care. Give them whoever you want to do. So we have 19 people trying to get to the Tulsa game this week. My only request is, if you win these tickets, go to the game.
Use them, please.
Use them. If you can't use them, find an Ole Miss fan that can use them, because we want you there. That's the whole reason for this giveaway. Mm-hmm. You guys are the best. You mean a lot to us here on the show, and that's why I wanted to do this giveaway for you. So it is loading now, and I am waiting on the circle of doom to finish. And it is. You see it spinning. This is how it's going to pick. So just so everybody knows, I have nothing to do with this. It is spinning. We are continuing, and no, I'm not recording it because you guys can see it working. And here we go. It is spinning, 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 spinning. And the winner is... It's slowing down. Sorry, this app's kind of slow, but we do have a winner. It is at Kyle_Ole Miss. Congratulations, Kyle_Ole Miss. Kyle. You are the winner. If you are watching the show right now, send me a DM on Twitter. That's my Twitter handle right there. There it is, at Austin on Air 1021. My DMs are open. If you're watching, send me the DM. If I don't hear from you in a reasonable amount of time, I will DM you. or I will, if your DMs aren't open, I will try to just let you know that you're the winner, tag you or such. If I don't hear from you, Kyle, then I will redo the raffle off the show and I'll pick another winner. So I will give you a certain amount of time to respond. Obviously, I can't just wait. If I don't hear from you by the end of tonight, really, and into tomorrow, then I'll probably reopen the raffle and let everybody know that we're going to have a different winner. So congratulations, Kyle, though. Hopefully you will be watching. If you're not watching, hopefully I'll hear from you soon. You are the winner of 2 tickets to go see Ole Miss and Tulsa. I will give you all the details when I talk to you a little bit later. Nick, anything else you want to add about the game? Or I don't know if you're going to be there. Again, I can't be there personally. Here I am talking about the crowd showing up. I have a good excuse, though, why I'm not there.
Yeah, I'll be there. I will be in attendance. So excited. I'm leaving from Biloxi tomorrow morning. Going to head up. My sister's still in school. Me and my family are going to go up, hang with her, go to the Grove, and go to the game. So I'm
Awesome.
looking forward to it.
Well, I hope you guys have a good time. I will be watching, of course, on TV. If all goes well, Nick, if you're available, we'll try to do a post game. Yeah. Obviously, if you're going to be at the game, we'll work that out one way or another. Right. Last week, I really appreciate you guys bearing with me. And I wanted to end the show a little bit differently tonight than how we normally do on a non-sports related ending. So as most of you are aware that listened to the show last week and Nick and I's show prior to that, I did lose a dear friend of mine last week. He was like a second dad to me, and his 2 sons are my 2 best friends and have been for a long time. They're 2 twins, one of whose name is also Austin. And we go way back, and their dad passed away far too young due to a rare form of cancer. And then immediately following that, upon getting home from that funeral, because I did make an effort to go to the funeral, even though I am in some pain, I wasn't going to not go. That family means too much to me. Got home from that funeral only to find out that another gentleman who I used to go to church with passed away of a sudden heart attack. And I just wanted to end this show by saying, talk to your loved ones. Don't put your loved ones off, because you just never know. Life is short. I was injured at 27 years old. I almost died. I literally had 2 minutes to live. That's what the paramedics told me when I was struck by a drunk driver on the side of the road. I was almost not here. At 27, you don't think at 27 years old that you're about to be gone. So life is short. I'm not here to be. I don't know, and not everybody here. I know not everybody here practices my religion of Christianity, and I'm not trying to preach to any of you and tell you that you need Jesus, and even though you do, but I'm not going to push that on anybody, because I know not everybody agrees with that, and this isn't a religious show. I do want to, in all seriousness, say, talk to your loved ones, pray for your loved ones if you pray. Absolutely. Don't let them go by the wayside, and don't forget about them. If you have grandparents that are distant like me, at least make the effort to call them up and talk to them and chat with them, because you just don't ever know when someone's time has come. None of us do. And I just wanted to say that, because it's been a hard week for me, losing my dear friend in particular. And it's rough when you see your dear friends go through that, and it puts stuff in perspective of, Absolutely. Man, you just never really know. And my parents are his age, so it really puts stuff in a whole lot of perspective. So don't let your loved ones go by the wayside. Nothing is more important than family in this life. So don't let that go by the wayside. Love your family, love on your family, call them up, love on your friends. Don't let them go without talking to them. If you've got stuff that you need to apologize for to someone, just do it, man. Don't let your pride come in the way of things like that. Just be the bigger person and make up with people if you need to make up with them. Do whatever needs to be done, because life is very short, and you just never know when you might have missed that opportunity that was there in front of you. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be somber and sobering on this fun show that we do, but I did want to just say that. Just
much needed, though. Much needed. You're right. You're right.
Keep people in your prayers if you pray. Love on your family. Talk to them. And for those of you that may have lost family already, my condolences to you. But whoever you have left, just be there for them. Don't let them go. And that's all I have to say about that. I have been very fortunate. I have not lost my parents yet, but my 2 good friends just did. So it's lost one of them. So it's very, very heartbreaking reminder of how short life really is. And football certainly doesn't compare to spending time with your family and being there for people that need you the most. That's all I had to say about that. I don't want this to be people start crying on us or anything like that. But Nick, sorry about that. I know I kind of threw that one on.
You're good. It was much needed. I think you hit the nail right on the head. This is life we have is short. You never know when your day might come. And, and Austin mentioned, talk to your people, and if for some reason you don't have anyone to talk to, you can talk to us. You have our Twitter handles. If you need someone to talk to us. We're here. We're not just here. We got a life too outside of the Rebel Walk, and we're human too. So, and we're here for everybody.
Yeah. And my DMs are open. I don't know about Nick's. DMs are open to you guys. If you ever need anything, we are not some glorified people because we do these videos.
Right.
We're not going to treat you like that. We're not these uber, crazy media people that don't ever talk to their fans or whatever the case may be. We're down to earth dudes who just get the privilege of doing this with the Rebel Walk and for Evie. We'd love to hear from you guys. We always love hearing from you guys, and we really appreciate each and every one of you. Sorry I ran a little bit long with that, but that's kind of something I did want to say. It's been on my heart this week. So anyway, Nick, as always, thanks so much for your help, man. Love doing these shows with you.
Having me.
Glad we got to do a giveaway. I'm going to hit up Kyle and see if we can't get those tickets to him. And we'll talk and have one way or another, people, we will have a post-game show.
One way or another.
At some point after the Tulsa game. We'll knock that out for you at some point. So stay tuned for that and the announcement on that time at some point when the game starts to wind down. Me and Nick will be talking between now and then. Hotty toddy, go Rebels. Hopefully we'll have a 4-0 talk about when this one's all said and done.